Hello out there world, welcome to yet another episode of Wheel Bite, episode 2 of season 3. This week we have an episode we are super stoked on. We got to sit down with Rob Collinson and Sean Sanford, two of the top dogs over at Lowcard magazine. If you skate, you definitely know what Lowcard is, or at least have an idea of what Lowcard is. They are the magazine for the people, by the people, as far as skating is concerned. They're really known for having great covers that are at very unique spots and showcasing the smaller scenes in the country, like places in Colorado, and then they got mad love for Detroit, Maine, because Rob is from Maine and the mag hosts an event out there every summer. Lowcard is definitely something we should all be very grateful to have here in 2019 in the grand scheme of skateboarding, since a lot of magazines are going under and Lowcard still manages to be pumping out issues and doing what they care about, and it takes a lot of dedication and passion to do what they do. So we got to talk with the guys about what we think of the industry and how we feel about their publication and why they do the things they do. So without further ado, here it is, episode 2, season 3. Stay lame.
Welcome to San Francisco.
Don't skate here.
I feel like it's dangling by a fucking strain of bone marrow.
East Coast powerhouse.
From the New York, I stab you in the Russian fork.
Carter, it is fucking Friday the fucking 10th.
I'll give you $100 and I'll take out the Benny Hannes if you slide that 75-foot handrail.
I especially like the flip of the board.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to yet another episode of Wheel Bite Podcast. I am host one of two, Theodore Mater, and with me as always is
Jay Green here. What's up, everybody?
And today we are recording from a very special spot today, the Lowcard warehouse out in, I don't know, is this the dog patch or is this?
Yeah, dog patch.
This is considered the dog patch still? Cool. We are in the dog patch of San Francisco at Lowcard headquarters. And right in front of me is all their gear and a sweet-ass ramp that I would classify as a good-sized ramp, not a mini ramp, because it's taller than myself. And we are here with two of Lowcard's top dudes. Want to introduce yourself, guys?
Yeah, I'm Rob Collinson. I started Lowcard back in 2003.
And I'm Sean Sanford. I've been working here for 10 years now or something like that.
A little longer.
12 years, 11 years. And I do sales and I write for the magazine.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure anyone listening to this will know that Lowcard is probably one of the best mags that's still out there and kicking. It's good to have mags that are still in it for all the right reasons, and I certainly feel that Lowcard is one of those mags. And to kick things off, just want to talk about one of what makes Lowcard so great and special. And I mean, for me, I always love you guys have great covers, straight up. You always have a really good cover of not the spot that everybody has seen 1,000 times. It's not El Toro or fucking the China Banks or some spot that's just been seen a million times. It's always somewhere a little more special, and it's someone who might not be the biggest name in skating, but they're doing something dope. And I think, having covers like that really allows you guys to stand out.
So something for me that's always kept my eye on Lowcard and kind of just been a fan of the mag and the whole movement you guys have always had going is just it's kind of this thing we're trying to push with Wheel Bite is kind of almost like a anti-industry or just a different perspective, more carefree and able to poke fun and just not so serious and and caught up in industry standards and bullshit. The different content that you guys have always provided it's fresh and it's cool to see. It's different from flipping through. We all know the big name mags up and seeing the same spot over and over, the same locations over and over, and just kind of the ability to laugh at the industry and poke fun at everything and not take everything too serious.
Yeah, I feel it. I mean, that's basically kind of how we kind of got going. My whole life, not my whole life, but most of my life, my father always kind of pushed me towards photography. And, I took a couple classes here and there, but I was never the best photographer. But then I realized I never really wanted to be the best photographer. I like just taking it kind of takes away from the session. I feel like, especially with myself, if I'm skating, if I'm trying to set up flashes and things like that, if I'm able to just pull out a camera and snap, do a point and shoot and whatnot, that's what I really like to do. And then, a lot of these cover photos and whatnot, we have a photographer with us and whatnot. But basically what my point is that a lot of the spots you're talking about where it's kind of a different spot that not everyone's like been skating and stuff, because a lot of it is literally like stuff we find on the side of the road or on trips. And like the last cover, issue 66 with Elijah on the cover, we were on a trip to New Mexico, and I was in Gallup, New Mexico, and we just saw this sculpture. I was like, man, is that skatable? And then we went over there. It was really hard to skate, but that's what made it super rad. It was like this big, like kind of looked like a Hot Wheels track. Mm-hmm. But and he ended up doing a bonus, and a lot of it's about like the moment and the spot and just like the vibe or whatever from the trip you're on or the session itself.
Right.
So
totally, and that's kind of the bottom line, is that like we're all just skaters who work here, and that's and we obviously like don't like, we never forget that. Like when we're on trips, we'll be like, look at that spot, that's fucking crazy, like that's so sick. Like I'd be stoked if I saw that in a mag, and so let's take a photo of it. And like people definitely respond to that,
right? Because
I feel that people reading Lowcard recognize that it's just like it could have been them who you know what I mean, like.
We sure as hell don't need any more Hollywood High covers photos in our life. I mean, it's cool, whatever, that's cool and it's gnarly and all, but like,
much respect to the spots like that, but yeah, like stuff like that, it's like, somebody did this trick, then somebody did that trick. I mean, which is really rad, and I respect that type of skating also, but at the same time, it's you kind of it's nice to get surprised with photos and whatnot.
I feel like it can be overwhelming too, and sometimes it just doesn't even make you want to skate. You're like, wow, that's so cool. Exactly. I would never be able to do that in my entire life. But like, that's why like a lot of the stuff you guys put in your mag is like, oh, that's like a spot I could totally see myself having tons of fun at for hours. Yeah. Like, and then
it's relatable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what was that trick that he was doing too on issue 66? Was that a boneless?
Yeah, it was a bean plant.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, that spot probably was super hard to skate, and like a bean plant is like a great trick to be able to like, okay, I can probably pop one of these off real fast, and we can get something good. Yeah. And I'm all about that style of skating and coverage and everything like that. And I mean, that is ultimately what I think makes Lowcard so freaking special. Moving back a little bit, how did Lowcard itself get started? And like, I know you guys each touched upon briefly about how long you'd been here and been working for the mag and whatnot, but how did the mag get started, and how did each of you get started working with the mag?
So basically, like I started the mag back in 2003. Basically, like I said, I'd always been taking photos, and so I just had a lot of. And I've done a couple zines here and there. I did one my first zine I ever did was called Broken Bolts in high school. I made like 2 copies, and because I've always been obsessed with magazines too, especially from my time era, growing up. There was no internet and whatnot. So you just would just go look through mags and just get obsessed with mags and articles and everything. But anyways, so I'd just be skating and snapping photos, and I've made zines here and there. And then basically around 2003, I was just like, man, I got some pretty good photos. I want to start a zine. And then I was just trying to figure out a name, and I was just trying to figure out, whatever, just the simple things like the name and some other stuff. And then at the time I lived in San Francisco, and I was buying these scratch tickets called Lowcard, and the lottery tickets, and your hand was supposed to beat the dealer, right? And then every time you'd get the Lowcard, they'd have the ace of spades, and you'd get like the 2 of clubs or 2 of diamonds. I'm like, fuck, you might as well just call this Lowcard. And then right then a flash went over my head.
Yeah.
Like, ding, 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 winner.
That's rad.
Just like a fucking cartoon, man. Like the light bulb just goes off.
There's nothing like a little gambling to really bring you down.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I was like, Lowcard, that's a perfect name. It kind of like embodies I think at the time too, like there was a lot more money in skating, and all these guys were going on these big trips and getting hotels and whatnot. And I mean, shit, since high school, I mean, Sean can relate to this too. Like we'd always be like scrounged for gas money, sleeping outside, like sometimes not even with tents, like sleeping in our cars, like. And that and the name Lowcard, I think, kind of embodies that vibe and in getting by, on the Lowcard. But I started in 2003 as a zine on paper, just Xerox, taping the photos onto paper, writing, like busting my friends' balls and whatever, writing funny stuff, and just like be like, just trying to write kind of funny articles and whatnot. And then fast forward. Eventually, I met my wife, who was obviously just my girlfriend at the time, but her sister worked at a print place, and we were able to go glossy, start getting ads, and so forth. And it was actually on a trip. Sean used to live in Grass Valley, and there's a whole awesome skate scene in Grass Valley. But anyways, we went through there on our trip towards Reno. We stayed a couple nights because we had friends there that we stayed with, and Sean ended up hanging out and skating with us, and he got hyped on Lowcard. And then we went, and then Sean, you can take it from here. When he moved to San Francisco, he kind of approached me about working for us.
Yeah, totally. Like I was pretty much my first thought, or one of my first thoughts when I moved to the city was I was like, fuck, dude, I could work for Lowcard, like that Mad Rules. And I always loved it when I worked at Good Times in Grass Valley. When Rob and those guys first came in, I was like, feels like a real mag, but it's just a zine or whatever. Like, and I could see that they're really, really doing things. And I was like, fuck, that'd be so sick to work at Lowcard. I see that they have the shirt folder position in the masthead. Like, oh man, I wonder if I could do that. Like I think I could maybe do that. And I've also always written stories, and I would make I'd write fiction. My dream was always to write for a skateboard magazine, write fiction for a magazine, because I never really saw fiction in skate mags. And so I wanted to sort of like get my foot in the door that way of Lowcard. And yeah, so I hit up Rob and was just like, hey, like, do you need like an intern or whatever? Like, I'd be super stoked to do it. And the timing was just perfect because they needed a shirt folder at that time because the bot had been doing it, and then he was not really able to do it as much. And so yeah, Rob was like, yeah, come in like as soon as you can, we'll fucking do this.
Were you working out of home at this point?
Yeah,
still?
So basically the evolution was we started, we're doing out of my wife and I were doing out of our apartment, obviously. Then we moved a few different apartments through the years, but then we moved into 3 blocks on 22nd in Tennessee. There was these live loft places, which back then was reasonable.
Yeah.
It was like we had this awesome, huge place with 30-foot high ceilings, and it was only like $1,800 a month. So like half of it was the business, and then half of it was just our live space or whatnot. So we were doing out of there. And then like we started outgrowing that, like the t-shirt boxes were just piling, just, the magazines, whatever. It was just getting a little overwhelming. And then we're like, all right, I think we could afford to get a warehouse. My wife Rhea was looking around and she found the place we're in now. So we've been in this building for about a decade.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Shit.
So we've been here for a little while.
Even while this neighborhood is like changing dramatically too. That's
yeah. Well,
the
good thing about this place is that a lot of businesses just use it as a stepping stone because you can find cheaper places, So it's always kind of kept our rent pretty good. So like a lot of business, I think what the people who own the building like about us is that we've been consistent for 10 years. You know what I mean? Where a lot of places people will move in and then they'll be like, oh, I found a good place out in San Leandro for half the price. You know?
But then who wants to go and run a business like that out of San Leandro?
Yeah, I mean, but if you're looking financially, you know, I get, you know, it makes sense. But luckily for us, like they treat us pretty fairly here.
So we've talked about what makes Lowcard special to us personally a bit, but you know, why is Lowcard so different and special compared to the other magazines? Like, I know we kind of, like I said, we kind of touched upon this already, but I'd love to just dig deeper into that whole.
Well, like you said, I think what a lot of people like about it is they feel like they can relate to it, but not only that, is like we let you be a part of it. You know, like people send us articles and whatnot, and a lot of the shops we're involved with we'll be involved with them. With you'll see your friends in there all the time, or your crew, or whatever. Like we're not, you know, we don't always necessarily need, you know, next best skater. It can just be someone who's ripping and putting their heart into it, and we're down. You know, if you want to touch upon that, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that I really I've always appreciated about Lowcard and made me really proud to be part of it was I remember when I was working here, like when I was first just folding shirts on Power Thursdays, and fucking and Rob was like, because I'd always kind of like slip my zines of short stories around the warehouse, just being like, check it out, you know, read it if you got a chance. There's no skating or whatever, but fucking, you know, like I write these. And Rob one day was like, dude, do you want to like write stories for the magazine? I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, I think it'd be cool to have something different in the magazine and something like a little bit more written content and just something that you might not see in other magazines. And that's one thing that I've always appreciated about Lowcard is that it sort of, and as someone who contributes to the magazine, it also gives me sort of, I mean, more or less free reign to be like, this would be cool to do like a video review, but it's like written like it's a fucking British baby, and it's like written, you know, or whatever. And a true story, but and Rob's always down. He's like, yeah, whatever, just fucking put it in there, and it'll be cool. And like, and when people send us stuff, like a lot of times it'll be stuff that may or may not be scoffed at by like quote unquote like a real mag or list like some of the more high end magazines, be it in skateboarding or in any genre of magazine. Right. People be like, what the fuck is this? But like we're always just like, if it looks cool and especially like just different and someone did a good job with it and has good photos and stuff and it relates to something that like is just something real and something real about skateboarding, then we're fucking always more than happy to run it.
That seems to be like how you guys have kind of created like that lighthearted approach to it. Seems to be like what has really kept you guys going and thriving. As opposed to like, it's interesting for me to hear like you bring up like a major magazine or whatever, you know, the rest in peace, all the fallen skate magazines that have come and gone, and you guys have kind of been able to maintain for a good while now. It's interesting just for me to hear that and like almost, you know, exactly what they would scoff at has been what's kept you guys relevant and kind of with like a cult following almost.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the biggest things too that allows you guys to stand the test of all this time is the mag is free, like for the most part, you know, and you throw it in when people order gear, which is like, it's a great way to get it out there. And I mean, I feel especially in skating, everyone will pick up something that's free. Right. Like whether it be a shirt or board or whatever, like skaters are always lowballing their budgets as best they can. So with it being free though, like I wanted to ask about the pros and cons of like what comes with that, because I'm sure there's plenty of each.
You can buy the mag, you know, online, or I'm sure there's other places that sell it too, or, you know, you can subscribe, which costs a little money, obviously. Having a print magazine, if anyone who's in the industry or has done it knows it's a very very hard thing to maintain. Print is very expensive, but it's something I've always believed in, and even the whole online started, and then some mags switched to online only, and and people were like, you should just put your mag online. I was like, yeah, but then there's nothing special about a print magazine, right? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing special about it. Now you can just go online and flip through, and who wants to go online? I mean, it's like a lot of the platforms now, like Instagram and Facebook and all that. That's what people do. They'll look at a picture, you'll see a picture, but then you'll forget about it. And,
it's gone.
2 hours
Yeah,
later.
totally.
So, and I've always believed in my head, like a few things. A, like preserving the photo, and B, like, what are you gonna do? Like, another thing is like everything's not can be online. I mean, it can, I guess, but like I believe in the skate shop. I believe in like, oh, you go into a skate shop and what are you gonna do? Look at a computer screen? You know what I mean? Like you want to go in and pick something up and look through it.
Which
like,
I've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen shop dudes standing behind there with like a crowd behind him, just like staring at a fucking screen.
Exactly.
Like, let's watch this new edit. So that's a real thing.
But the best thing about a skate shop is actually be able to grab product, look at product, buy product,
sit down,
hang out with your buddies, flip through a magazine, talk shit.
Yeah.
And you take magazines away from a shop, then you can have one less aspect of the shop. You know what I mean? Sure. Especially, with Lowcard, we try to include a lot of the shops. So that's another topic you can get to when a shop gets the issue. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a lot of importance about actually having a physical magazine in a skate shop.
And how our culture has even developed to this spot, I guess.
Yes.
It's like that's like a huge part of it.
I think that's kind of one of the most recurring themes on this show is that we talk about how like the internet has just ruined so much physical media, and how like the two of us are just so stuck in this era of like getting physical media is cool. Like totally. I don't understand like how at any point it wouldn't be like, even now you look at music and how vinyl sales right now are like fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how much vinyl costs and how many people are into it, and how so many artists, like that's the only way they make any money when they're on tours. They sell records or they sell t-shirts.
Yeah.
But
is
like,
it,
yeah.
Not to cut you off, is it up to the shop's discretion to charge for it? Because usually I see it for free, I feel like, in the shops.
Yeah, so usually what we do with the shops is like, whenever they do an order, we'll throw, X amount of mags in for free. But, a shop on the East Coast has to pay shipping to the East Coast. So we're like, if you need to sell them for $1 or $2, do it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like cover your shipping, do whatever you need to do to make that work. From here, we try to make it as cheap as possible and whatnot for people and places to get it. But, people got to do what they got to do.
Right.
Yeah, another thing that I've heard a lot of shops say, which I think is a great idea, is they say, like, you get the mag free upon purchase of something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think is cool, because they're like, to encourages people to buy. Instead of, as we all know, like when I worked at Good Times, like, every day there was just, like swarms of kids going to be like, what's free? Thanks. And then they're out of there. You know what I mean? Or whatever. It's like, dude, like, come on. Like, that doesn't count as support.
Yeah.
Shops got to keep the lights on and pay their employees, and just like any other business. So can't blame them for whatever they got to do.
Which is really cool that you guys are kind of feeding into that, because it's like, a big part of this, why we're doing this today, is about print being dead or dying, and, I mean, the local skate shop has been under attack for a while now too, with the industry giants and so on and so forth. We'll get more into the merch stuff in a little bit, but how do you guys approach the shops? Or do you guys like kind of pick out like-minded shops, or like just from old connections, or you're willing to kind of entertain anyone who wants to place an order?
It's basically a little bit of everything. Like, a lot of times some people are like, you should hit this shop up. These guys are cool and whatnot. And we'll hit them up, or like, we'll find a shop like, give them a call, just see what the vibe is. Just be like, hey, what's up, man? This is Rob at Lowcard. What's up? And if they're like, oh, cool, what's up, man? I've been wanting to talk to you guys. Or if it's like, who? What? We don't like want magazines. You know, there's just, you know what I mean? And a lot of it too is from like being on the road and just stopping in places too, like checking places out. Like we try to just get it out there as much as we can. So, you know, and so it's all good. I don't want to say that like we mostly just call a lot of like, you know, like mom and pop style stores and stuff. There's a few bigger guys that get us, like Skate Warehouse and a few other big guys, but
oh, cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
But nothing too crazy.
Not sending stuff to Zoomies or anything like that. I still can't even believe, like, it's so weird to me that the closest skate shop to Embarcadero is Zoomies. Like, geographically speaking.
What, in the
San
mall?
Francisco. No, yeah, there's one on Powell Street.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, it's such a bummer. I've had to go in there a few times, and it's like, I feel like I'm suffocating.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I'm dancing with the devil.
Yeah. Well, like that whole area, Powell Street, Westfield Mall, all that shit, like, can be overwhelming, especially for a person like me. Like, just too much consumerism. It's like
trap.
What's the line in Repo Man? Ordinary fucking people, man. Going back to, you know, you said you call and work with a lot of mom and pop shops, which is great. And I also feel that in general, like the people that are in the mag too, like that's sort of the ethos I feel of Lowcard. Like it's about the working class skaters and the working class people in the scene. It's not like, yeah, this is an article about the Nike trip where everyone's fucking, we're eating sushi every night and fucking staying at the Hilton in suites. Like,
hey, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I mean, nobody would be opposed to that. Nobody would be.
Nike, are you listening? Do you listen to Wheel Bite?
But I mean, that's always been my favorite thing is that you guys focus on skaters doing it for the love as opposed to the big sponsored pros. But at the same time, I feel like there's room for overlap right there because like what does that even mean anymore?
So I always my whole theory is I think if we ever which we've been around for 16 years about so I mean so obviously I don't think we're going to be an overnight sensation where we have all this money, but if we did have the money, all that would mean to me would just be being on the road more and doing more stuff with more shops. You know what I mean? Like if we did like had something where it's like, oh, you know, this company wants to give you money to go on this trip. I would think that'd be rad, but I'd instead of like staying in high-end hotels, I would just make it a bigger, longer trip and go see more people and do more events rather than just like, oh, let's go on a weekend trip where we're spending, you know, 10 grand and just treating ourselves. It's like, it's never been about that. If I had the money, I would just do a longer trip and stoke out more people, try to go to the shops that no one goes to and bring a good crew and go barbecue and have a parking lot jam, you know, and just you know what I mean?
Well, something I wanted to bring up too about like the skaters that you guys do focus on, like you brought up that like Elijah was on the cover and like, I don't even feel like the whole world necessarily knows who he is, but he's also like super internet famous, like bombing the crazy fucking hills all the time. And like, even looking at someone like P-Spliff, who like, rest in peace, you know, before he was getting all this massive coverage with the GX crew, like he was already like doing really big and crazy shit and like getting like coverage from folks like you guys for it. So at this point, like where even, or is there even a line between like the skaters like just killing it out there for the love or the dudes who are like backed by some massive company? Like I feel it's such a thin line at this point, way thinner than it was, say, like fucking 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. And the way I feel about all that is like, you know, you can't hate on the guy who wants to get paid, you know, who's getting paid and still doing what they love. I think that's fine. If that's the route they want to do, that's all good. But you know, usually the people who kind of come around and we hang out with or whatnot or just dudes more like an everyday guy that just has a job but has a really big passion for skating. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying the people who make the money don't have a passion for skating. It's just, you know, a lot of the times it's just like, I don't know why it is, but like I guess like minds come together maybe. You know what I mean? Like you just find yourselves at the same places as like Elijah or Pablo or any of those dudes. That whole crew, like their whole crew is rad. Like I mean, I could go on with their names: Zane, Timson, Adam, like all the Western World guys, all those guys. That whole crew is real rad, and those are some of my favorite dudes to travel with. And you know, and when you think, and then I think that's why you also see those guys in Lowcard or on the Lowcard videos or whatnot, is because when I think of a trip, there's certain people I think of, and it's people that can get in the car, not complain, get wrecked, get wasted, and have a smile on their face. You know what I mean? And just like power through and just like do it because you love it. You know? So that's probably why you see, you know, that type of an association of a person in or on Lowcard videos or in the mag and whatnot.
And also the fact is that like people, like skaters pick up a skate mag for inspiration. I mean, you know, for a lot of reasons, but primarily it's for inspiration. You just get pumped on skating. And what's seldom like vocally recognized in a lot of industries is that there's incredible skating going on everywhere. And it's not always covered by, you know what I mean? Like if you look for it, you'll find it. And that's what we're always looking for. Like we'll tell our shops, like, we'll be like, fucking, like, send me a clip of like an unknown ripper in your town, and I'll watch something totally weird and totally rad and doing a trick that isn't just like a fucking like tray flip slide down a 7-stair handrail. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the kind of thing that when you see that, it's just, I don't know, it just makes you want to go skate.
Well, that's what I love about like getting out into other parts of the country and seeing. That's what we were talking about earlier with how a lot of the spots are like, oh, that looks fun. Like I would love to just stop there and skate that. And like the further you get away from places like California and New York City, like the spots get weirder and crustier. Totally. And like growing up in Massachusetts, like we only had a couple spots that were tangible to skate. Like it was like, oh, this is the one set of stairs and the one manual pad we get in this town, and you had to find ways to like be creative. And it's good to have a magazine that even promotes that ideology as opposed to just like, yeah, 360 flip lip slide down giant handrail.
Well, that's the same. Like where I grew up in Grass Valley was the same, where it was just like we all, before the skate park got built right after I graduated high school. So when I grew up, the closest skate park was Scuba in Yuba City, which I love. That's such a fucking great park, but it was still, you know, like you had to drive to it or get your parents to drive to you or whatever. And so I grew up just skating all these just the raddest spots. They're so sick, where you have no option but to get creative on it. And that's why guys from my hometown who grew up skating in my hometown, like Hansi Driscoll and Chris Sen and Jean Cardiel, like that's why they can fucking skate anything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so rad.
Man, those 3 names you named too. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That is pretty heavy, man.
And dude, I could sit here forever just naming off people that like no one even knows who they are, but it's like, dude, and they're just the sickest, just like, I don't know, just the most incredible people and skaters, like period. It's so sick. I love it. I feel very lucky to have grown up in Grass Valley.
With the current climate of the internet and the Instagram fuckery, and just the onslaught of just footage and new skaters and unknown skaters and known skaters, and just how everything has been unfolding. And like we're saying, you guys tend to focus on kind of more obscure nooks and crannies of the country and maybe not the most known skater. Has that been easier or harder for you guys to maybe find these people or places with just like the onslaught of everything? Has it been like, okay, well, there's too much out there, and if we entertain this, we have to entertain everything? Or has it been a lot easier because of that too?
No, I think it's been easier. It's not like, I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, a lot of people hit us up to for stuff, but it's not like overwhelming. No, I think I think everything pretty much aligns pretty easily. There's definitely times I'll get emails or like messages or whatever, and then like things get buried a little bit. So sometimes, yeah, it can get a little. I guess it can get a little crazy sometimes, but normally it's not too bad. And we really focus on like people that, I mean, like Detroit, man. Detroit's rad, and we've been through there a few times, and all those guys are super rad. And so like Daniel Stelly's one of the most insane photographers in the world, but he's always sending us stuff, and like we kind of like pick a few guys that like kind of, like Coburn Huff in Colorado. He's like, Colorado is another insane skate scene that and he's always sending us rad photos, and it's just there's certain people that like you kind of like, oh, this is kind of our style, or this is what we, and then they give you just the same type of energy where they're just hyped on Lowcard, they're hyped on what we're doing, they want to be there, and they know we don't have much of a budget at all and whatnot, and they're willing to work with us, and those are the type of dudes that you kind of align yourself with, and it kind of help makes the editing of everything else easier.
It makes sense how all the content is rolled out. It seems super organic and natural, and nothing's forced, really. Yeah,
it works out well. And then like, especially like when you go through a scene and you go skate with everybody and hang out with everybody, like everyone gets they understand. Like obviously there's kind of a vibe we have or whatever, but like when we actually go somewhere with a crew, then it gets even more instilled. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then people really want to be involved and get involved, and they see we're real. They, we're definitely not making a ton of money over here. I have a regular job too, and so I have a regular job to pay my bills. This is Lowcard's just something that I love and that I want to do, because what else am I going to do? Like just go home to a white picket fence and be bored? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I hope all the kids listening hear that out there.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. No. And that is like been my goal, like moving here to like try and do anything in skating. Like, gotta work a regular job to pay those bills, but don't ever forget what actually makes you happy and gets you excited. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk too with the internet shift and like all this stuff. One thing I feel that you guys are so on point with is the merch. Anyone wearing a Lowcard shirt or hat like gets reposted on your Instagram, which is fucking great. And like, I love that you guys have some of the best gear, and I actually am now the proud owner of your Christmas sweater tee, which got me a lot of comments at work. But man, like, has that helped? Like, as the years have gone by and this big shift has happened, like, I feel like the merch has to have helped play a hand in like keeping the ball rolling with you guys.
It does, yeah. I mean, obviously, like that's like you have to have income come from somewhere, and that's definitely helped pay the rent and whatnot here. My father, he always liked like kind of shocking or different t-shirts, and he'd always have like t-shirt ideas, I guess, and I never even realized until recently, like maybe that's where kind of I got kind of ideas for like making shirts that were funny or whatnot, you know what I mean? Obviously we have like the standard logo shirt and whatnot, but like, yeah, we're always like bouncing ideas off each other's heads about like what would be funny, or if you see something cool or funny or like, or whatever, you just think it's something that might be funny, which there's also a thin line there. It's like, yeah, you can make like some crazy shirt that no one's going to buy because it's too much over the top, or you can, or, you know what I mean? There's definitely a line there, but whatever. We've made enough shirts that sat on the shelves because it was a little too much.
Yeah, but then we'll do like the Jesus hostage shirt and like can't keep it in stock.
Well, I mean, even the motto is great. Dude, stay lame. Like, it's just something I can like as being like the skater growing up in my hometown who was the lamest, like I can totally vibe with that. I'm like, yeah, this speaks to me on a very spiritual and personal level right here.
Well, you guys totally emerged from like, and as skateboarding has grown in popularity, and we're all old enough to have seen skateboarding and merchandise and product and marketing and all the bullshit kind of go through whatever to where it is now. You guys kind of emerged through the like, everyone wears Thrasher, more people wear Thrasher than that don't skate than that do skate now, and you guys have kind of emerged out of like this whole market of like, look at how marketable skateboarding is, and you guys have totally stayed true. Because like the stay lame thing was like the first thing that like caught me, and I was like, that's fucking perfect for like the climate and how things are going. That's awesome. And like being ran out of San Francisco, you guys have just kind of come out of that. It seems, you know, I guess you never know behind the scenes what's happening, but like just staying true to that, and that's totally like kept you more than afloat, I guess. Like,
yeah, I would say like none of that's really that controllable, I guess, like who wears your stuff and whatnot.
Right? Yeah,
but
of
like,
course, of course.
But I think we're just perfectly enough unknown that people aren't the typical kid who's looking for the next trendy thing is not going to buy a Lowcard shirt or a hat.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like where it's got people buy it or support it or wear it that are like, oh man, I really like what their deal is or what they do, so I want to support it and I want to be a part of it. So that's when they get it. You know, where other stuff that kids see and they see like, you know, some superstar or whatever wearing it, like somebody that doesn't even skate wearing it, and then all of a sudden they want to wear it. You know, where
exactly.
You know, and if one day that did happen to Lowcard, which I don't think it's going to, but it's kind of, you know, a little bit out of your control.
It almost happened. Remember when Sean Penn's son he was wearing a Stay Lame shirt, right?
No, it was a Lowcard.
Oh, just a Lowcard shirt.
It was in People magazine. I don't think that didn't do anything for us, but
it's still awesome.
Yeah. So like all these people are hitting us up because in People magazine, there was a picture years ago. This is probably close to 10 years ago. His kid, who's definitely an adult now, but Sean Penn's walking with his arm around him, and his kid's wearing a black Lowcard like shirt with a big 2 of clubs on it in People magazine. I still have it somewhere. It's hilarious.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Does he skate?
He probably does. He was wearing like Vans and shit. And this was before like a lot of kids were wearing skate stuff that didn't skate. Yeah, I mean, I think they lived in like Marin. I'm sure the kids. He had to skate.
Yeah.
He's wearing a Lowcard shirt. He has to skate.
Right. Whatever you got to tell yourself.
Okay, if you don't skate, you're dropping in right now. You're wearing a Lowcard shirt. You have to.
It's already like he's already got cool points for just being Sean Penn's kid. You know, like.
Right. And it wasn't the I used to skate shirt.
All the proof we need.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the merch and stuff too, and like all that stuff helps you guys keep this machine moving forward. But the thing I wanted to like just talk about more than anything is like you guys are staying afloat and still like keeping your own voice, your own little scene at a time where print is like, you read about it all the time, and not even just within skating, like major newspapers and stuff. The fucking last season of The Wire is all about this too. Like print is just like constantly going under. So I really just wanted to get your guys' input and take on keeping this machine going with all that always happening and like always being broadcast. I guess not in the print media, but on the news.
So this is where I'm going to be completely honest with you. Print is definitely one of the most difficult things to maintain and do, and that we're actually behind like a couple issues because it's really, really hard. But we have a new issue coming out this week or next, issue 67. But I've always said I will keep this going until the day. I mean, I'm not going to claim till the day I die, but I'm going to claim for at least till I retire or whatnot. Something that you have to really believe in what you're doing and really, really want it, because a lot of times you're putting a little bit of your own money into it. A lot of times it's really, really, really hard to do. And and that's why, and a lot of the reasons play magazines go out of business is because the people behind it want to see profit. It's really hard to make a profit off a magazine. It really is. Especially in skateboarding, you have to believe in what you're doing. And if you want to do it, you have to figure out, am I willing to work overtime at my regular job to keep this going? You got to think of, am I willing to add a little stress in my life? Yeah, it's a little stressful sometimes, but at the end of the day, when that mag comes out, it's like running a marathon. Yeah, I've never ran a marathon, but but I'm guessing it would be like running a marathon.
Cross that finish line,
it's
baby.
It's torturous. There's a lot of pain, and you might come in 999th place, but you make something you believe in. You make something that you have a lot of passion behind, and that's what makes it worth it at the end of the day. And you stoke out a lot of people, and that's what makes it worth it at the end of the day to me, is just making it and putting it out there and getting people stoked and keeping that whole thing going.
In this time, have you guys, I'm sure you have, but have you, we talked about kind of like the way the culture shifted with how we consume content, skateboarding content and ads, and have you guys found yourselves having conversations like, okay, well, shit, like we need to get our YouTube views up, or we need to shift to an online platform, like just to even keep our physical afloat? You guys find yourselves in that situation, and you're like you snap out of it, like fuck that, like we can't go that route, or have you given in a little bit?
Yeah, obviously, like advertising is what keeps obviously what keeps magazines moving forward, and video, like businesses, and like anything where you're making a media, you have to have the ads to fuel the media, to fuel it, right? So yeah, obviously we're always looking for some new we're looking for new advertisers, things like that. Obviously, moving to the internet, moving to the website. I love especially our trip videos. I really love putting those on there. I love doing video, and then other shops and companies' videos. I love putting them on there too. It's a good platform for people to see. Do we have meetings where we're like, hey, we have to, this is our number we have to meet for this month? No, we don't say that. Mm-hmm. But we're always saying hey, it would be cool if we could get a couple more ads on the website. That way we could pay for everything a little bit easier, sure, instead of having to struggle. Of course, you're always looking for a little extra fuel to make things a little easier, mm-hmm, if you want to put it in that type of terms. But we're not a corporation. YouTube views are this number. We have to reach this number by in 2 months or else, or whatever. We don't do that. The Lowcard's always grown organically, and that's the way we've always run it. So, and we'll talk about making sure we have enough money for rent and things like that. Right. But it's not we're not trying to do anything crazy, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. There's also stuff like that. I think that's part of the reason why we do low res and stuff like that on the website, and just have articles, like Rob said, articles that are just on the website, is because I don't know. I know that the magazine isn't really easy for a lot of people out there to get their hands on. Sure. Maybe they don't even have a fucking skate shop in their hometown or whatever. And maybe they only have Zoomies, and so they can't really get a Lowcard magazine in there. So that's also another reason why I feel it's good to have not only just photos, but also full on articles. I've written a couple articles myself that have just been only on the website, and that way people can still kind of check our steez and just look at something and enjoy it, and still get inspired to go skate via the internet. That damn internet!
God, get off my lawn, internet!
Seriously, we're gonna just through this learning process of the podcast, we could have a whole podcast just about skateboarding and the fucking internet.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
we keep coming back to it,
even on topics too where we have no used to come back to this topic, we still somehow always come back to this topic, because I mean, in the grand scheme of skating, the internet has just moved it in directions that I don't think we ever saw coming.
Right.
Like, I think back to, I'll watch 411 every now and then, like old ones, and you'll see ads for like weird skate websites from 1998 where it's like all the hot brands or like something like that, and like it'll list like 20 brands that you can buy their gear from this random Amazon.com of skateboarding that was relevant in 1998. And I'm just like, oh, wow, like those dudes,
little did they know.
yeah, they should have stuck around. They might have been able to make it work.
The Friendster of skate.
Yeah,
shops.
exactly. That's a more accurate comparison right there. As we're nearing the end, though, and we've touched on so many good things that like I actually wanted to get your guys' intake on. So thank you for that. But as we leave, like, other than running this not necessarily until the day that you die, but what are your goals with like moving this thing forward? Because it doesn't seem to be a real end in sight. Like, you guys got something great going here, and you have a good cult following, and sometimes like that's really all you need. Like, it's the reason why people are still doing live renditions of Rocky Horror Picture Show all around the country. So you're able to maintain a core audience and keep this integrity. So yeah, moving forward, where's this all going?
So my goal is to just get back on track with getting the issues back out on a timely manner, where it's like, where we meet basically our deadlines of having the mag out when it needs to be out. And just basically just having enough income to be comfortable enough to be able to go out there and do more stuff, get out there and do more events with the shops, and that's the stuff that I think makes us who we are in a lot of ways. Is like, we'll show up to shops in the middle of Ohio, and just like do something with them, or like wherever, we do a few big events. Like, I do one in Maine, where I'm from. Every summer I do I didn't name it Rob Stock. I would never name an event after myself. It's Rob Stock. All right, it's Rob Stock. All right, I get it. But anyways, I do that every summer. It's a weekend in Maine where on my land we have ramps and bands, and everyone just gets together and barbecues, swims, and skates, and it's just that's what skating's all about. My goal is just to have more money to do the things that we want to do, like that, like just go places and be like, all right, we're all skaters. Let's just have a good time here, and let's party and skate while we're here, because we're not here forever, right? And then, we do another big one in New Mexico, the big meetup, where we go to Indian School Ditch and collab with a couple of the shops out there and get a bunch of people to bomb the ditch, which goes down a few miles, and go party and skate at some other stuff, and just get a ton of people together from like Colorado, East Coast. A lot of people come out for that one. But anyways, my goal is to get the mag out when it needs to be out, like in a more timely manner. Just be comfortable enough where we can just get on the road more and do more with the people supporting us.
Pouring back more back into the community.
Another dream of mine would be to go around the country and be like, we got some extra money. Let's pour a little extra something here at this DIY spot. Like, go do a DIY tour where you're actually like given to the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I love going to these places. Like Harrison Street DIY is amazing. Like, going places like that, like, they've done so much there. There's so much passion and so much community there. It's amazing, and that's the stuff I'd like to be involved with. And I think as a whole, Lowcard, we'd like to be involved in, just being more involved in the stuff where the skaters are really grunting away, like making this shit happen.
That was like when we also did the mini meetup in Salt Lake City this year. We want to keep doing that every year, because I heard again and again and again, like, it was so fun. We just all met at the, what town was that?
Heber.
In Heber, at the skate park there. And it was such a sick skate park. We were just like, everyone come out and skate. Like, we're going to be there. We're going to be giving away prizes, like all this. And I heard again and again from I've got this really great shop in Salt Lake City, Ranch. And Brad at Ranch, it's a record shop and a skate shop. And it's amazing. It's such an incredible shop. If anyone's
Something
ever
out
in
of the
Salt Lake
80s.
City, go out there. It's so great. And then Crossroads in Ogden, which is another really great skate shop. It's an indoor skate park as well. But they were saying again and again, like, no one ever comes to Salt Lake City. Like, no one comes to Utah. You know what I mean? Like people are whatever. Like, people are afraid of Mormons or whatever it is. But they're just like, dude, like, and they're just so appreciative of that. And that's the kind of thing that I really would like to help keep supporting. Is just like tiny little burgs where just like there's rad fucking skating everywhere, and it's just fun just kind of going out and just finding the stuff and just like helping do stuff for people that wouldn't necessarily have like whoever going there and putting on crazy X Games contests or whatever for the Olympics.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
it sounds
for
like
real.
you guys are pouring a lot back into maybe the underserved parts of the country and just communities that, you know, maybe like you said, there's rad skating everywhere. And just in our community, in our media world, so much gets like redone over and over. So it's cool to see you guys feeding more into the other side, I guess.
Yeah, so you heard it here first, kids. Just fucking go find those weird spots to skate and subscribe to fucking Lowcard. That's all you need to do.